Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that talks about what it really takes to stay healthy in today's modern, fast-paced world. I'm Tiffany Simms, and today I am here with Lisa, and Lisa and I are going to talk about all things that tie back to this perimenopausal, menopausal world that I'm about to step into, and you may already be there. Those of you who are listening right now, you may already be perimenopausal. You might already be menopausal. Or you're like me and you're just creeping up and you're like, maybe I should start learning about this so I don't think I'm crazy. I just actually know what's happening in my own body. So I'm really, really excited for the conversation that is going to come out of this today. But before we hop in, Lisa, go ahead and share who you are, where you're from, what lights your soul on fire, and then we'll hop in.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany, for having me on the podcast today. I'm so excited to chat with you and everyone else. My name is Lisa Holtan. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach of the last 16 years. I owned a gym for 5 years where I built an amazing community of women, helping them learn to get healthy, to feel their best. I have now transitioned to online and virtual with just a few classes here and there. But truly, my passion has always been and will always remain, I feel, to really help you feel your best and learn how to be healthy for the long journey. It's not a stop start or a quick fix. This is learning about you and how you feel and how you can feel your best for forever.
I love that you said that this is a lifelong journey because I feel the same. I believe that if you can learn how to become an intuitive eater and actually learn what your body needs and how to make those adjustments, you always know what your right next choices are that are right for
Yes.
you, and you don't need anyone else's opinions or input. And I think that's such a beautiful place to be. But so often as women, that thought of like, I'm never actually going to be there, like I'm never going to be done, like what does that even mean? Like that can feel so heavy. How do you handle that conversation with your friends and clients, or even with yourself? Let's be real, how do you
Yeah.
handle that with yourself, because we've
With
all been
yourself.
there, let's be real.
Yes. Yes. So I think that's a really good question. One actually no one has ever asked me before. But I think the whole point of that would be to learn to enjoy the process. So for myself, I love lifting weights. Like I like to move my body. I may not always want to like exercise. Like this morning, I was like, I'm not feeling it, so I'm not going to do it right now. But I always love the feeling of accomplishment when I'm
Mm.
done lifting weights. So how I feel when I'm done. And so, what I try to focus on with it being a lifelong journey is doing workouts that I enjoy and trying to push myself to see like, can I lift heavier? Can I hold that plank longer? Can I get better at a certain exercise? Because it's not about me competing against you, it's about me competing against that past version of myself. So, how can I start to enjoy the process? I also personally love to try new recipes because I think that that helps us not only enjoy cooking or learn how to cook at home, but it helps me realize what foods make me feel good and what foods don't make me feel good.
You're my spirit animal. We are so this on the same page with this. I say this all the time. It's always not go eat this, go do this. It's always just ask yourself, can I add a veggie to this meal? Can I move my body today intentionally? Usually the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no, and sometimes the answer is I don't want to. And that doesn't have to mean anything. It's just an
Right.
opportunity for you to check back in with you and
Mhm.
like figure out what's really going on with you so that you can be the best you. And I
Yeah.
know for me, Lisa, like when I was in the heaviest part of like my dieting and training and like in the fittest shape of my life, um I remember beating myself up thinking, why is it still so hard? And the first time I gained like a few pounds, it was like, what is wrong with you? I thought you figured this out. How are you still broken? And learning that like there's no, we all want it to just magically be whatever that number was for you. I don't have a number anymore. I don't even have a scale that I get on.
Me
Um,
either.
I go based off of how I feel. If
Yeah.
I'm not feeling well, like I mentioned to Lisa before we hit record that I was having a really hard time today with like some body dysmorphia. And It's a few things. It is one, I am a very happy, healthy, whole person, and I am a size 12 body, and I have never felt more complete and whole and healthy. And I have no fear of food, and it doesn't take up mental energy and space anymore, which for me is healthy.
Mhm.
But I'd be lying to say that I'm not having insecurities right now watching people take Ozempic and just melting fat away, and it making me feel like people aren't going to take me seriously in my profession because I am the way I am. And then add on the fact that this week was a hard week for me. And instead of dealing with some stuff I needed to take it like face head on, I avoided my workouts and I ate some of my feelings. And so like today when it was like having being uncomfortable in my own body, it actually had nothing to do with my body as much as me being uncomfortable with the habits and choices I made this week and knowing that that is actually why I feel the way I feel. I don't know where I was going with that thought. Oh, because we were talking about like the journey part. But 20
Mhm.
years ago, I didn't know what that journey was. I was like, I thought if I was just 135 pounds, that that was it. And then magically everything would be fine. But it is an everyday choice, which I think
Mhm.
sometimes can feel heavy for people.
Yeah, I think too, we put so much on that number, and I like to tell my clients like whatever that number is for you. Okay, so say it's 135 pounds. Where were you in your life when you were at that number? And usually they'll say like in high school, before I got married, before I had kids, right? And it's like, okay, so basically what you're saying is you want a life of no responsibility again. Because that's that feeling you're trying to recreate. Because when we were in high school, we had fun, we didn't have responsibility. Kind of the same thing before we got married, the same thing before we had kids, right? You were probably going out, you had no responsibilities or very little responsibilities. It was like just about you. And so why don't you just try to recreate that? That's not the scale that you need to recreate. It's your mindset and your life you might need to recreate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many people think it's a number
It's
when in
not.
reality, the reason you're so tied into a number and a size in your head is because there is a life you feel like you are missing out on
Yes.
in your current body.
Correct.
And chasing that, the things you have to do to chase a number when you're in weight loss, fat loss specific mode are much different choices than when your intention is, I want to be my healthiest self.
Hmm.
Because how I would eat right now if I wanted to drop 25 pounds is not actually a healthy way of eating.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't be healthy. And then I would get mad that I wouldn't be able to maintain it. But you show up today as you're making the choices of your healthiest best self to create the life that you actually want that has nothing to do really with the actual number or size.
Right. And the other thing too, I think people need to realize is, myself included. You know, you were saying body dysmorphia. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, why do I not have like chiseled abs, or why are my arms not leaner or more sculpted? Because I work out. I do track my nutrition at certain times of the year. I, don't consume a lot of alcohol. I sleep, like I do all those things. But also, I want to be able to eat a cookie when I want to eat a cookie. I also drink a glass of wine on Wednesday night. I also might go out for a happy hour tonight with friends. So what I mean for myself and everyone else listening is you also need to realize your body will look a certain way based on what kind of lifestyle you want. And I don't want to completely cut alcohol out of my life just to drop 2 pounds, or I don't want to not eat a cookie just because I might be able to, get a little bit leaner. Like I still want those things in my life. And sometimes there's a trade off for that, right? So, like, I might not have the most sculpted arms because I do want to have a glass of wine on Wednesday. And I have to learn either to be okay with that or to be okay with the fact that I might have to cut something out. So, it is kind of depending on like, what do you want your lifestyle to look like? So, kind of going back to like, how is living your best life? That also helps you determine like how you can enjoy the process
Yeah.
and the journey.
And you know what I love about that? And this is such a minute detail for some people, but it makes such a world of difference. The intention behind the reasons why you do or don't do something. It's not out of punishment for who you were yesterday or because you hate yourself so much. It's because there's a life that you want to live a certain
Yeah.
way. And so, like, those choices are very intentional. It's not
Right.
punishment, it's not restriction, it's not lack. They're choices for the life that you're building. And I think that makes a world of difference for people because it's like, what do I want? And that can change in the seasons. I mentioned to you earlier that like I really believe that the truest definition of health is like when you have harmony between your health relationships and the way you earn money. And that looks different for every person and it looks different throughout the different seasons of your own life. But
Yes.
it's always that intentional choice of what do I actually want that I think that matters. Now, Lisa, for someone like me who I'm turning 40 this year, like what do I need to know about my body, about what's coming my way that like is going to catch me off guard because no one's been talking about it?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that no one talks about and everyone should be talking about is as we get into our 40s, I'm 44. I started perimenopause actually probably like 4 or 5 years ago. So when I was like late 30s, I kind of started the symptoms of it. And, I didn't realize until probably about 2.5 years ago that my low calorie diet I was eating was actually doing more harm than good for me. So as we get older, we actually need to eat more food to help balance our hormones than less food. And I know that's counterintuitive. And I know people are probably like thinking this lady is nuts and that's never going to work, but it does work. Like if you actually eat whole foods, I'm not saying like go pick up another big whopper or whatever they're called. I'm saying like eat an actual whole sweet potato and like a burger and some vegetables. Like you can eat a banana. Like you're not going to gain weight from a banana, people. I don't know why people are so afraid of bananas and potatoes. I'm like, they're good for you. Like eat them. I think if we just eat more food, you'll actually find out that you feel a lot better.
Yes, and I love that. Eating more food and the foods that are going to make you feel better. And I
Yeah.
was just having this conversation the other day with a friend like we know before we put something in our mouth how we are going to feel about it. Because when you go to eat something that's like heavy and icky and like leaves you ready for a nap and bloated, like your stomach goes huh, first. Like you have a moment of resistance and we tune it out. Whereas if
Yeah.
you get in tune with it, it's like, oh wait, my body just told me like that's not the right choice for me right now. And then we go eat the sweet potato or the quinoa and the rice and the salmon and the chickens and all the food. You can eat so much of it and feel freaking amazing. And then you're like, oh my God, how am I not gaining weight? I've been eating so much. And it's
Yeah.
because you're eating the foods that have the nutrients that your
Right.
body's been craving, which is why
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't be satisfied with all the crap you had been eating, even though you were eating like 20 gazillion calories a day.
Right. Right. Like my whole goal in life, like I have two goals in life. One, I want to live till like I'm 105 and I'm going to live in
Mine's
Florida.
120. I'm like, I'm going
Okay.
to be here for at least 120.
Okay, so we're gonna be best friends. We're gonna live in Florida.
You'll be you
I'm
and me,
gonna
girl.
teach. Okay, I'm gonna teach water aerobics and drink wine. That's what I want to do. Okay.
And I'm going to be run Disney races if we're going to
Okay.
Florida.
I'll
So
come cheer you on with my wine bag. So, so in order to do that, though, I have to be healthy now. In order to live till I'm 105 and be active and be able to do that, I have to be healthy now. But my second goal is how much food can I eat and feel good? It's not how little of food can I eat, it's how much food can I eat and feel good. That's what I
I
want. I want to eat
love that.
food. I want to eat food,
Like,
people. Like
why are so many people like, I can't lose weight? I'm a foodie. And it's like, I love food.
I love food.
I love food. Why? Where did we get in society where it's like eating quote unquote healthy, eating for yourself has to taste bad?
Right?
Like, how did that happen?
I think it's because like in the 80s and 90s with the bodybuilders, they ate like dry chicken breasts and broccoli with nothing on it because right, like if you're a bodybuilder, you can't have a lot of fat and whatever. There's this whole thing with them. And I think that just kind of stuck. And it's like, I know I tell people all the time, they're like, why do you eat so many vegetables? I don't like vegetables. I'm like, you're just not cooking them right. Like, try a seasoning on them. Try to put some butter or olive oil on them. Like, roast them, steam them. I don't know. Try it a different way. You'll probably find out you like them.
I always tell people when they're like, I don't like veggies, I'm like, oh, what don't you like? And it's always like one or two vegetables.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then go try a different one.
Different one.
Like, just be, if you don't like broccoli, you never have to eat broccoli another day
No,
in your life. There
no,
are
you
so
don't have
many
to.
other vegetables than broccoli.
Right.
And just like for me, like I tell this story all the time. If you were to survey like 100 people and ask them if tomatoes were healthy for them, they would say like yes, it's a vegetable or it's a fruit, whatever side of that conversation we would land on. They'd be like, no, it's totally a health food. but healthy for who? Because when I eat tomato products, unless it's ketchup, because that's not even real anymore, is my stomach hurts. I get really bloated. My
Mhm.
stomach is distended within 10 minutes. My tongue starts to crack. I have an intolerance to tomatoes, so they are not actually a good choice or healthy
Right.
for me because my body doesn't digest them. And so it's like there's a gazillion other recipes that don't involve tomatoes. I will say it's kind of hard because almost every healthy recipe is like some kind of tomato sauce over vegetables. And I'm like, come on, people, give me something else. Um, but it's like there's a million other vegetables other than tomatoes.
Yes.
Why? And so like go try other things.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
We don't
silly.
we don't have to put it in a box like well, I don't like Brussels sprouts, so I'm never gonna eat a vegetable again. It's like, okay, you don't like that one kind. Like you said, try something else or try it a different way. Like, and plus a lot of people I think they don't like a vegetable from when they were a kid. But I'm like, you're an adult
You get
now.
new taste
So
buds every 14 days.
yeah, your palate might have changed. I did not like peas and Brussels
These
sprouts
are
and
my
broccoli when I
favorite.
was a kid, and they're all my favorite now. So
Peas are my favorite vegetable, hands down. Could eat them all day, every day.
yeah. I remember really quick, I'll tell you a little story about me. This is how stubborn I am. I was little, like elementary school age, I remember. And I sat at the dining room table because I refused to eat my peas. And my parents said I had to have one bite of my peas. And I said no. And I sat there at the dining room table until bedtime because I wouldn't eat the peas. Like, just eat a spoonful of peas. What was my problem? I could have gone and played. But no, I sat at the table the whole night.
I don't have kids. When I think about what I know now and having healed my relationship with food and exercise, I really question like the difference between like having your kids be adventurous and punishing them and not letting them listen to their own bodies and taste buds. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that line is because like I said I don't have kids, but that's something that like I play with my like mom clients where we
Mm-hmm.
get kind of creative and stuff and I let them test it out for me because it's like maybe your kid really is trying to tell you something and you're not in their body so you don't actually know how it feels. But if you think about like who would have ever thought tomatoes? If I said I don't like
Right.
them, they probably would have just thought I was being a picky kid. But it turned out my body was rejecting them and not wanting to eat them because they were
Right.
making my tummy hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Same with
Yeah.
workouts. Like, why are people are like, I hate going to the gym. I hate this. And I'm like, there are so many ways to move your body. Go find one of those spicy YouTube videos and lock the door so no one walks in on you and like enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Go feel yourself and be sassy. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many ways to like get your heart rate up. Like, don't do things that you hate.
Right. Like, I don't like to cycle. You'll never see me on a Peloton or in a spin class. Those things are horrible for me. I do not enjoy them. I will not be on them.
And I
It's fine.
also leave room for you to change your mind one day if you wanted
Yeah.
to with no.
Right.
Like that's another thing. Like why as women when we like have a very strong opinion, we're afraid to change our mind. Like people are going to call us a hypocrite or we don't want to try something because we've hated it forever and like what? And it's like what if you just were whoever you wanted to be today? What would
Yeah.
happen?
And I bet those people didn't even remember that you said you didn't like it. So it doesn't matter.
Right? You're just
Doesn't
internal
matter.
you're fighting with yourself. I
Yeah.
have a question that keeps popping up in my head over and over again, so I'm going to ask you. How is my period going to change in perimenopause before I'm like is it cuz this we're going there. We're just going to go there. So I mentioned I'm turning 40 this year. I have noticed that like my period is darker
Hmm.
than it was before
Yeah.
in a little like more chunky
Yeah. I know.
than it was before. Is that are those part of is this normal or do I need to go check out with my doctor? What's
Uh,
happening with my body and how is my uterine lining changing in these stages of life? This is what we need to talk about.
yep, that happens. So I will say that that is common slash normal. I sometimes like to say that just because things are common doesn't mean that they're normal.
Also true.
Okay. So yes, that is common slash normal for that to happen. You also might experience like heavier flows
Okay.
or okay, more frequent, like instead of 28 days, it might be 21 days, or 1 month, it might be 35 days. Like they're gonna start to become irregular.
Okay.
Um, And yes, some months might be like heavier and then other months might be lighter. Some of that can be due to a steep drop in estrogen and then too high of cortisol. So if you are experiencing um, like heavier flows, chunky, darker colored flows, along with like night sweats, hot flashes, migraines, moodiness, severe cramping, that's a sign of like, let's work on some stress management tips. And you might need to eat more carbohydrates because to balance your hormones, they like carbs. So happy hormones like carbohydrates. So eat your banana and your rice and your oatmeal. Eat, you know, those grains that will help you be able to kind of balance those hormones out so you can kind of um, get back to a little bit more of a normal, quote unquote, like flow and cycle.
I'm very science minded, and my science brain just like exploded when you said that, because one of the things that I always tell women, because they're like, oh, the cravings right during your period,
Oh,
and I
yep.
always crave, and I'm like, I always crave carbs and chocolate and these things, and I'm like, that's because carbs give your body energy, and when you're shedding, you've built a house, and now it's just like trying to deconstruct. Like
Right.
that takes a lot of energy, like
Mm-hmm.
cellular energy. Your body does need more carbs, and then like the iron and the antioxidants and all the stuff that dark chocolate does give you, like it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense why you're having these cravings. Your body is deficient in a nutrient and it's trying to like settle things out. I never really thought about the carbs specifically in hormone
Yeah.
production.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, happy hormones, carbohydrates. So if you want your hormones to be happy, eat some more carbohydrates and protein, actually. So protein helps with sugar cravings. So like the week that you're ovulating, the week before your period, you do want to try to eat more protein and more carbs. The week you're ovulating, you want to still do higher protein, higher carbohydrates. So, like I said, have your overnight oats, eat your banana, eat your sweet potato, quinoa, rice, like that's all good for you. And that will help you actually feel better. A lot of people get bloated too the week of their period, usually because that's can be a sign of not eating enough food. So eat more
Hmm.
protein, make sure you're drinking a lot of water. And then with that, if you are in tune with your body, um, you can actually like do different exercises to help you feel better during your cycle. So like during the time that week, you do want to maybe like not lift super heavy, like doing a lot of like yoga, Pilates, bar type of movements is better, just because actually everything in your body, even your ligaments, get a little bit more relaxed during that time of the month. And so if you do something really hard, like push really hard, your chance of injury can increase. So if you are in tune with your body and kind of want to exercise according to your cycle, you want to do like a little bit lighter activities that
I
time of the
love
month.
that so much. Without fail, like I am the worst one. I am always surprised that my period comes.
Me
39
too.
years
I'm like,
old, and
oh, I have
always surprised like I am 13 and it's the first one. I'm like, dang it. But so much happens in my brain that just makes sense when like things start flowing, because it's like I have a really hard time those few days, like the day before and the day that it starts doing my workout. Everything feels so heavy and so much energy, and like I just want to be more rest and relaxed and just more flowy. And then all of a sudden it's like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Get it together. Like, what's happening here? And then all of a sudden I'll start flowing and I'll be like, duh, Tiffany. Like you were yelling at yourself because your body knew what was happening and your brain didn't want to be on board. Like,
right.
we're good. And then all of a sudden you get like superpowers because you allowed your body to rest and relax and to nourish itself through the process. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like a superstar for a few days and you're like, I am all that is woman.
Right. Right. So that's another reason like to tune back into your body and to start learning about yourself and about your body and how you feel. Because when we tune into our body, then we can feel like that and we can do those things and we can understand why we don't maybe feel like doing that hard hit workout today. And instead of beating ourselves up, we can be like, oh, okay, it is what it is for this time of the month. I'm gonna, practice some yoga or do some bar
Yep.
or something like that. That's a little bit more low key.
And I love that, like working with yourself. And I know not everyone works for themselves, like myself and you. And like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but even when I worked for someone else and I was working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes I was a nuclear chemist for a power plant for 12 and a half years. And so really high stress, high demand. And I still learned to work within my schedule and my demands, noticing that there were certain times of the day and certain days of the week where like I just had different functional needs and different productivity levels. So I started intentionally loading my schedule, and I still do this now, but I started intentionally loading my schedule for the activities I could do at my peak performance. Like I know that on a Wednesday, I kind of don't want to be social for whatever reason. So Wednesdays are admin days for me. I don't have a lot of energy to give to other people. They're my put my head in the sand. I also know that in the morning, I like to sit down and like write out what's on my plate for the day and what my top 3 priorities are. So I block that out in my calendar. And I also know that after lunch, I really do like being social. And so I plan activities like you and I recording right now is right after I just had lunch. And so like I made my schedule start working for me within the constraints of my schedule. Same thing with your hormone and your cycle. It's like, you know that in 28 days, like every week you're a new human. So say, if you can, save certain tasks for certain times of the week when they fit for you. And that goes back into like listening for your body.
Right. I love that. I am starting to do that where I'm listening to like, when am I at my best, like my peak performance, and putting those activities first. And what I have found out for me is I'm like, go, 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 go. So I'm a little bit like type A in the morning, but once I eat lunch, I want to like chill. I want to like go on a walk outside. I want to listen to a podcast. I don't want to like talk to anyone for an hour. And then I'm fine again. So I try to do all my big stuff like in the morning. And then I try to schedule out like 2 hours in the afternoon. And again, yes, I work for myself, so I can do this or have the luxury to do this, but so that I can like go for a walk outside, or I can just like recharge myself before doing any sort of like evening tasks or activities that I have to do.
Ah, so besties that are listening with us right now, I really encourage you, like, when do I feel my best? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? What tasks do I actually thrive at and enjoy? And start finding little pockets and little ways to like start making that work for you rather than forcing yourself and beating yourself up for being someone that you're not. And
Right.
so like there are just so many ways. Like I said, I worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week in a very high stress, high demand. And I learned how to make it work with for myself within the constraints that I had because I didn't actually have control of everything, right? So I encourage you to get curious for yourself today. And Lisa, like as we're wrapping up, like, is there anything that's on your heart right now that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I do just want to touch on, I think when you're on Instagram, looking at Instagram, I don't know about you guys, but I personally love Instagram. But you see like, you see all those fitness influencers and you see everyone and what they look like. And I just want to say to you all listening, and I'm saying this to myself too, because I was actually just talking to my husband about this 2 nights ago. I was like, you look at that and you just like compare yourself to them, right? And like, first off, let's be real. They're like 18. So, okay, most of them, like, let's be real. That's not the normal person you're looking at. But also, like, you don't know their story and what they had to do to get there. And you don't know how happy they are, or all those things, right? So instead of comparing yourself to them, let's just continue to swipe by or even unfollow them if they don't bring you joy. Unfollow them and really focus on like, how can you feel your healthiest? And what does that even mean to you? Because for me, it's going to be different than for Tiffany, and it's different than you listening. And maybe for you, it's just, I just want to run outside with my puppy. Like, awesome, great. Maybe for someone else, it's they want to try a new recipe. Maybe for me, it's like, I want to enjoy happy hour with my friends tonight. So just like, what makes you feel happy and healthy and alive? And that's what we need to focus on instead of focusing so much on like what we see on social media.
I love
So,
that so much. How do people
yeah.
connect with you outside of the show, Lisa?
Well, pop on social media. I am on Instagram at Lisa Holtan, and I show real life exercises for the real person. So pop on over to follow that. I'm also on YouTube at Lisa Holtan, and my website, lisaholtan.com. So there you
I
go.
love it. Thank you so much for having such a real conversation with me. I loved it. I know I got some value. If you got value out of today's show, drop it in the comments below. If you know a friend who needed this conversation in their ear, go send it over to them with a little note that says, hey, I was thinking of you. I thought you might enjoy this. That's how we share the things that we're learning. I think it is such a gift to share messages that speak to us or when we think of someone, and let them do with it as they wish. Like your intentions were pure, right? And so with that, that's Humans Talking, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.